Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I wish you all a pleasant time listening to the book. Today, we'll be discussing the second installment of the book titled The Undercover Economist Strikes Back, with the subtitle, How to Run or Ruin an Economy. This is the second book in economist Tim Harford's series of 4 books on economics. In fact, it is a collection of the author's responses to letters from readers back when he was a columnist for the Financial Times. During that period, he received hundreds of letters from readers discussing a wide range of topics. As we mentioned before, Tim Harford is a very down-to-earth economist who excels at using economic thinking to guide real-life situations. If you flip through this book, you'll find that his responses to readers are very practical, covering diverse topics from arguments between partners to whether or not to keep a pet. The content of the letters is quite diverse, so we have organized and summarized them for you. In summary, The Undercover Economist Strikes Back, the second installment, uses economic thinking to help us solve real-life problems in 3 main areas: romantic relationships, family and household matters, and general life decisions. Now, let's delve into each of these 3 topics. First, we have the economics of dating. The essence of successful dating lies in creating information asymmetry, revealing favorable information about oneself while concealing unfavorable information. At the same time, one should strive to break down the information barriers created by the other person. Secondly, we explore the economics of family life. Many conflicts and arguments in families arise because we often try to persuade one another, but reasoning alone may not resolve the disputes. Economists use the concept of costs to constrain everyone's expressive impulses, thus helping to resolve conflicts. Lastly, we'll discuss the economics of everyday life. When facing dilemmas, using game theory and reverse reasoning can lead to more efficient life choices and better decision-making. Now, let's delve into each of these 3 points in more detail. Point 1. The economics of dating. The essence of dating lies in creating information asymmetry, revealing favorable information about oneself while hiding unfavorable information. Simultaneously, one should try to break down the information barriers created by the other person. From an economic perspective, the key to successful dating depends on how well you can create information asymmetry. As we all know, in a market economy, information is valuable, and many profitable opportunities stem from information asymmetry. For instance, in the stock market, people are intrigued by insider information. There are often rumors from insiders claiming that one company will acquire another significant company. Those who know this insider information rush to buy stocks of the acquiring company, expecting the stock price to rise once the news is public. However, once the news becomes widely known, the stock price has already gone up, leaving little profit for latecomers. Now, let's draw the connection to love. In romantic relationships, both parties often face information asymmetry. When you go on a date with someone you like, don't you tend to deliberately show your strengths and hide your flaws? This act itself creates information asymmetry. During the dating phase, many people act as gentlemen or gentlewomen, but after marriage, their true selves emerge. This is like conducting information asymmetry business, much like buying low and selling high in the stock market. Undercover economists will tell you that the essence of love economics is to maximize your advantage in information asymmetry and gather as much insider information as possible to see through the true nature of the other person and make informed decisions. Next, we'll provide examples of common dating problems to illustrate this theory. Let's imagine you have a female friend who is of good condition and has had several boyfriends in the past. She plans to date a few more times but ultimately wants to settle down, get married, and have her own child. How long should she date before getting married? This is, in fact, an economic problem. We can try to think about it in a simpler way, like when you go to a restaurant you often visit. When do you stop trying new dishes and stick to your favorite one? The answer depends on several factors, such as your level of fondness for that particular dish, your taste, and how many times you plan to visit the restaurant in the future. If you plan to visit frequently, you should try more new dishes until you find a better favorite. This way, you gather new information and reduce information asymmetry. However, if the restaurant is about to close, you'd better save the limited opportunities to enjoy your favorite dish. Similarly, with your female friend, since she has good options and many choices, she should date more men to see if the next one might be a better match. This way, she aims to achieve information symmetry. However, since she can't predict how each man's value will change in the future, as some men may improve significantly over time, and she can't be certain about her own reproductive timeline, she cannot wait indefinitely. When the situation becomes more complex and information becomes more ambiguous, she should set a clear goal, such as getting married by the age of 35 at the latest. She can continue dating and not drastically lower her standards until she reaches her late 20s, but after 30, she should marry one of the top 3% of the men she meets, as it's the best way to minimize risks. Now, let's consider another example. Suppose you've been living with your girlfriend for 3 years, and over the past year and a half, you've been together continuously. Now, you're hesitant about whether to propose on this Valentine's Day or wait until next year. In this case, you need to weigh the cost of delaying the decision against the value of waiting to obtain new information. If you're a patient person, the cost of delaying is relatively small. If you're still in the honeymoon phase and you discover new things about your girlfriend every day, then the value of waiting is significant, as more information reduces the risk of making a wrong decision. That's why it's often advised not to rush into engagement when you're still young and in the early stages of a relationship. Lastly, a male reader from the Financial Times asked for advice, saying that he has a busy job but desires love. He posted his profile on several dating websites but didn't include his real photos. He lives in a city and has good conditions, but he's a bit overweight and has a prominent nose. So, he wonders if he did something wrong. For people who lack confidence in their looks, should they post their real photos on social platforms? This is also an information problem. Of course, you can download a photo of a handsome man from the internet and use it as your avatar. Doing so might indeed attract many responses. However, imagine meeting with the person you're dating offline after using someone else's photo. It's evident that it won't go well. For the other person, your appearance would be completely asymmetric information, and if they discover the deception, you'll have little chance left. Undercover economists suggest that the best strategy is not to lie but also not to reveal all your information up front. You shouldn't give away all your secrets, as that would leave you with no initiative in dating. The optimal approach is to exaggerate certain aspects of yourself appropriately. According to economists' research on social networks, most people tend to describe themselves as wealthier, slimmer, and more attractive than they actually are. 2/3 of online daters believe they are above average in appearance, while only 1% admit to being below average. So, when you claim to be above average in appearance, who would refute you? However, this reader's biggest mistake is not including a photo at all. People without photos receive few messages for a reason. The reasoning is as follows: those who are above average in appearance will definitely include their photos to prove it. Therefore, those without photos will be considered average-looking. Later on, even those who are just average will start including photos, and that's when those with below-average looks get singled out. So, if you don't want to be categorized like that, take a photo of yourself, smile, and upload it as your profile picture. In summary, the first point we discussed is the economics of dating, and it's crucial to pay attention to information asymmetry, which can bring both advantages and pitfalls in the dating world. Next, let's move on to the second point, home economics. This section will explain that most family quarrels and conflicts arise because we always hope to convince each other with reason, but reasoning alone cannot ease conflicts. Economists use the concept of costs to restrain our impulse to express opinions and resolve disputes. We know that many issues often arise within families, such as disputes between couples and conflicts between parents and children. Many times, we try to solve these problems by reasoning. However, persuading someone is difficult, and when persuasion fails, consensus cannot be reached, leading to many family conflicts. But if we introduce an economic concept, costs, most family conflicts can be resolved easily. Undercover economists have demonstrated the magical power of costs in different scenarios. For example, a parent asked the undercover economist for advice, saying, "My son just got his driver's license, but he drives recklessly. I'm worried that he will have an accident sooner or later. I have talked to him, but he never listens. Recently, he's interested in buying a very old and run-down used car. I don't think this car can provide enough safety, so I'm considering buying him a new car with better safety features. Do you think it's a good idea?" The undercover economist's response is that constantly emphasizing safety won't work because your son's reckless driving indicates that he prioritizes speed and fun over safety. Considering his preferences, his driving behavior is actually a rational choice, so your nagging won't be effective. Moreover, your plan to buy him a safer car won't solve the problem either. There's another issue with this plan: can a safer car reduce the risk of reckless driving? The answer is no. It's more likely that your son will drive even more recklessly with a safer car because of the Peltzman effect. Economic research has shown that drivers of safer cars are more likely to become complacent and cause more traffic accidents. The number of drivers' deaths in safer cars is almost the same as those in less safe cars, and it even leads to more pedestrian deaths. Therefore, buying your son a safer car won't solve the safety problem, it might even make it worse. So, what is the correct approach? It's to use safety costs to restrain him. When he's selecting a car, if he can clearly feel that the safety costs are increasing, he will rationally constrain himself. As a parent, you can let go and allow him to buy the old used car, but there must be some hidden security measures, like having someone secretly install a few airbags or anti-collision devices on the car. This might not sound like a particularly clever trick, but from a rational perspective, anyone can easily see that driving such a car would require high safety costs. As long as the driver is rational, they will voluntarily restrain themselves. Adding the safety measures installed by you, it turns out that driving the old used car is better than a newer, safer car. This is the role of costs in constraining human behavior, and it's more effective than earnest persuasion. Let's look at another example. Our neighbor, Mr. Wang, wants to divorce his wife, but they are constantly arguing about how to divide their house. Is there any way to resolve this? Economic research has found that when an item is a common property, there is an easy way to reach an efficient result: let one party buy out the entire asset. In simple terms, if the house is jointly owned by Mr. Wang and his wife, with each having half of the ownership, and the house cannot be divided, then one of them should own the house and compensate the other with half of the house's value in cash. One gets the house, and the other gets the money. But here's the problem: the person who wants the money will definitely claim that the house is worth more, while the one who wants the house will claim it's worth less. This bickering is typical. Now, let's think about why both parties don't tell the truth. Because they are negotiating, and asking for a high price without any cost is in their best interest. So why not shout for the price that maximizes their benefits? Is there a way to make both parties reveal their true valuation of the house, rather than lying? In the world of economics, a way to restrict certain behavior is to impose a cost, and costs are the most common form of punishment. In other words, if you want people to stop lying, you must make lying costly and painful. So, how can we apply this to the problem of dividing the house? The economist's suggestion is for Mr. Wang and his wife to each make a bid for half of the house's value. Whoever bids higher can have the house, but they must pay the other party in cash the average of their two bids. With this mechanism, the motivation for lying is greatly reduced. If one side intentionally bids too low, the other's bid is likely to easily exceed it, and then the person who undervalued the house will have to sell it cheaply to the other party. On the other hand, if someone bids too high, the cost will be too high as well, since the other party will take away a substantial amount of money. Under this mechanism, revealing the true valuation of the house becomes a costly action for both parties, and they will carefully consider what price they can accept. This way, conflicts can be easily resolved. In fact, for every item that needs to be divided, a similar method can be applied if you are willing. The core idea of this method is to use costs to restrain the arbitrariness of expressing opinions. The role of costs is not limited to this. Let's take another common issue that single young people often encounter, which is blind dates arranged by their parents or elders. Parents often urge us to get married and sometimes even take the initiative to arrange blind dates for us. Why don't young people like blind dates? Because they feel like fast food. If you feel okay after the blind date, parents will push you to get married as soon as possible. But for most young people, marriage is a lifelong commitment, not just a task to be completed. They believe that they need to find someone they can get along well with and make a judgment after spending a long time with them. Why do young people believe in living together before marriage? Because they believe that only in this way can they truly understand whether they are suitable for living together. How can we prevent parents from interfering in our personal lives? Experience tells us that reasoning with our parents is generally not effective. If you say one sentence, they will have 10 waiting for you. They are parents and always believe that getting their children married early is the right thing to do. They naturally see themselves as standing on a moral high ground. How can you expect to persuade them with reason? The Undercover Economist's advice is to approach the problem from the perspective of your relationship with your parents. When parents arrange blind dates for us, what is our relationship with them? It is actually a relationship of commission and agency. We know that shareholders in a company usually don't do things personally. They elect members of the board of directors to represent them in managing the company. In this case, the shareholders are the principals, and the members of the board of directors are the agents. The board members then hire managers to work for them, and the managers are agents of the board of directors. Now think about it, are all the actions of the principals satisfied with the agents? Of course not. So, we often see companies replacing board members or professional managers. In the case of parents arranging blind dates for us, parents are playing the role of agents. Their interests may not be aligned with ours, so they are looking for potential partners based on their standards, barely considering our concerns. How can we encourage parents to consider the issue from our perspective? Economists believe that the best method is to pay according to the results. For example, you can make an agreement with your parents and have them issue a 1 million yuan bond to you. As long as your marriage is happy, they will receive an annual return of 50,000 yuan. If your marriage lasts for 20 years, you will return the debt to them. However, if you divorce during this time, the money will not be refunded to your parents, and you will keep the remaining money. With this approach, your parents will consider the potential loss and will not easily arrange blind dates with the candidates they prefer, because if you rush into marriage, it may lead to a failed marriage and your parents will lose a large sum of money. The key to this method, as you might have noticed, is the cost. When parents help you arrange blind dates without any cost, they won't consider your feelings. But once they feel the pressure of costs, they will start to consider the problem from your perspective. You see, using market-oriented means to solve problems can reduce a lot of unnecessary arguments. The above is the second point, home economics. Now let's move on to the third point, home economics. When faced with dilemmas, using game theory and reverse reasoning can make our lives more efficient and our decisions more accurate. In our lives, we often encounter situations where we feel undecided and each option seems reasonable. How can we think more efficiently to improve our lives? Undercover economists tell us that when facing choices, we should learn to apply the principles of game theory to solve problems. Game theory, such as the classic prisoner's dilemma, is well known to many, but most people still struggle to apply it to specific situations in life. Here are some examples given by undercover economists. First, consider the case of a graduating college student who has received several job offers from large banks and consulting companies. These companies require a response within 10 days. The student is torn between accepting one of the offers or waiting to see if there are better opportunities. This is a common dilemma for college students. It involves a game between the graduate and the companies. For the graduate, they need to choose the most suitable job among many companies. For the companies, they also need to determine whether the candidate will choose their company. In such situations, many companies resort to the tactic of sending out numerous job offers to test candidates' willingness to make a quick decision. The undercover economist suggests that game theory focuses on the next moves in the game and the process of reverse reasoning, which provides more reliable advice. For example, if you receive a job offer with a 10-day deadline, it is likely that the company is testing your willingness to accept. By waiting patiently and not responding within the time frame, you can observe two possible outcomes. 1. The company is just bluffing, and they still want you to join even after the deadline has passed. 2. The offer is genuinely rescinded, and you lose the job opportunity. In this case, the company's action reveals its true intentions, and you can make a more informed decision. Another example involves choosing a career path. Many people find themselves disinterested in their current job and yearn to pursue their true passion, even if it involves more risk. For instance, someone may be studying strategic and production management in college, but their true passion is filmmaking. However, they worry about the perceived risks of a career in filmmaking. Rather than focusing solely on personal interests and risk tolerance, game theory suggests considering the competitive landscape in each career path. The optimal choice depends on your advantage relative to your competition. If you are genuinely more passionate and capable in the filmmaking industry compared to other aspiring filmmakers, pursuing your passion may be a viable option. On the other hand, if you find yourself in a highly competitive environment without a clear advantage, it may be wiser to stick with a more secure job in management consulting. Lastly, when attending social gatherings and bringing a bottle of wine, people often struggle between choosing an expensive one, which might not be appreciated, and a cheap one, which might be perceived as stingy. Game theory advises assessing the preferences of the people you are dining with. If they are wine connoisseurs who appreciate fine wines, bringing a good bottle might be a wise decision, as it can lead to mutual benefits and enjoyable discussions about wine. However, if the gathering is more about the joy of being together rather than the wine, bringing a slightly cheaper bottle won't detract from the fun and will save you some money. In conclusion, game theory and reverse reasoning can help us navigate complex decision-making situations in life. By considering the incentives and actions of others, we can make more informed choices that lead to more efficient and satisfactory outcomes. This concludes the second part of The Undercover Economist. This book primarily addresses three aspects of real-life issues. 1. Dating economics. The essence of successful dating lies in creating information asymmetry. It involves revealing favorable information about oneself while concealing unfavorable information. Simultaneously, one must strive to break down the information asymmetry barriers set up by the other party. 2. Home economics. Many family disputes and conflicts arise because we always try to persuade each other, but reasoning alone cannot alleviate these conflicts. Economists use the concept of cost constraints to manage our impulses to express ourselves and resolve disagreements. 3. Life economics. When facing dilemmas, applying the method of reverse reasoning from game theory can make our lives more efficient and our decision-making more accurate. Congratulations, you have completed another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let us combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you, and goodbye.